There is a specific kind of tragedy that modern culture celebrates. It looks like a person chained to their desk at midnight. It looks like someone who hasn't taken a vacation in 3 years. It looks like a human being who has made themselves so indispensable to their own operation that removing them would cause everything to collapse. We call this person dedicated. We call them a hard worker. We give them awards. The geniuses of history call them something else entirely, a poorly designed machine. Because here is the truth that separates the architects of civilization from its laborers. Every system that requires your constant presence is a system that is quietly consuming you. And while you are busy being the engine, someone else is building the factory. That gap between being the machine and building one is the gap between ordinary and genius. Pillar 1. The abdication principle. In 1892, Andrew Carnegie was the richest man in the world. He also worked less than almost anyone in his industry. His competitors were on the factory floor, managing every decision, approving every shipment, solving every problem with their own hands. Carnegie was in Scotland, fishing, not because he was irresponsible, because he had engineered a company that made his physical presence unnecessary. He once said that he would rather have 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of his own. That sentence contains more strategic intelligence than most MBA programs produce in 4 years. This is what psychologists call the abdication principle, the deliberate, systematic transfer of your cognitive and physical labor into processes, people, and structures that execute without you. It is not delegation in the conventional sense. Delegation still requires you to remain the decision-making center. True abdication builds a center that doesn't need you. Neuroscience supports why this matters beyond productivity. A 2019 Stanford study found that individuals who consistently operated at maximum personal output without systemic relief showed measurable degradation in creative cognition within 18 months. The brain, treated as a machine, begins to perform like one, efficiently, repetitively, and without imagination. The first pillar of machine thinking: your presence in a system is not proof of your value. It is evidence of an incomplete design. Pillar 2. Mechanical thinking. Here is a question that most people never ask themselves. If I disappear tomorrow, what would stop? Whatever your answer is, that is your single point of failure. And genius throughout history has been obsessed with eliminating single points of failure. Henry Ford did not invent the automobile. He invented the system that made automobiles inevitable. The assembly line was not a production tool. It was a philosophy made physical. It said, human skill is valuable, but human skill embedded in a repeatable process is exponentially more valuable than human skill applied randomly. Ford looked at a factory full of craftsmen, each one talented, each one irreplaceable, and saw a catastrophic vulnerability. If any one of them left, knowledge walked out the door. So he didn't build a workforce, he built a system that converted skill into structure. This is mechanical thinking. It does not ask, who is the best person for this task? It asks, how do I design this task so that any capable person, or eventually no person, can execute it flawlessly? The difference between a genius and a talented individual is that the talented individual produces great work. The genius produces a system that produces great work long after they've moved on to the next problem. Ray Dalio built Bridgewater, the world's largest hedge fund, on this exact principle. He spent decades converting his own decision-making frameworks into documented algorithms, what he called principles, so that the institution could think the way he thought without requiring him to be present for every thought. The second pillar: don't ask how to do great work. Ask how to build something that does great work without you. Pillar 3. The leverage stack. Every genius in history, examined closely, reveals the same architectural pattern. They did not apply effort uniformly. They stacked leverage. Leverage, in its most precise definition, is any mechanism that multiplies output relative to input. A lever moves more weight than your arm alone. A book reaches more minds than a conversation. A system processes more decisions than a single human ever could. The geniuses understood that leverage exists in layers, and the highest performers stack those layers deliberately. Benjamin Franklin didn't just write, he owned the printing press. He didn't just own the press, he franchised it across Pennsylvania, collecting royalties while other printers traded their time for money. He built a leverage stack: content, then distribution, then replication. Each layer multiplied the one beneath it. This is not accidental. A 2022 study from MIT's Sloan School found that founders who systematized their core intellectual processes in the first 3 years of operation were 4 times more likely to scale beyond their personal bandwidth than those who remained central to daily execution. The critical insight is this: most people add effort when they want more output. Geniuses add layers. They ask not what more can I do, but what can I build that does more than I can? And crucially, they build the next layer before they need it, because a machine built under pressure is a machine built with compromises. The third pillar: stack leverage before you need it, because the genius who builds the factory during peacetime wins every war. Here is the through line. Carnegie abdicated. Ford systematized. Franklin stacked. These were not acts of laziness, they were acts of profound strategic intelligence. Each man looked at the same resource every human being is given: finite time, finite energy, finite attention, and refused to treat it as the ceiling. They built machines, not because they couldn't do the work themselves, because they understood that doing the work yourself is always, always the smallest version of what's possible. You are not meant to be the engine of your own ambition. You are meant to be its architect. The moment you stop asking, how do I work harder, and start asking, what do I build that works for me? That is the moment you cross the line that separates the laborer from the genius. The operating system is updating. Keep watching. Now, there is a problem with everything we've just discussed. Building machines requires a specific kind of thinking that most people were never taught, because the educational system was specifically designed to produce workers, not architects. The next video goes inside that design: who built it, why they built it, and why geniuses throughout history found ways to escape it entirely. The answer begins in Prussia in 1819, and it will change how you see every institution you've ever trusted.